I recently finished 4,000 Weeks, a book by Oliver Burkeman. It's a book purportedly about time management. In fact, it has this subtitle, Time and How to Use It. But it's even bigger than that. It's really much broader perspective about time and how we live our life and so on. And the title refers to how many weeks you have in your life if you live to the grand old age of 80, which really isn't that many weeks, 4,000 weeks. As you can see here, this is a picture I saw recently on the internet that kind of graphically shows you, the typical person's life here in the West and how we might live our 4,000 weeks. So why Burkeman has that as his title is because it's supposed to give you a perspective. Like, you have a limited amount of time on this earth, and so therefore you should probably be thinking carefully about how you're going to spend that time. Without it, we sort of just imagine that we have infinite amount of time, and as a result of having a perspective that's sort of infinite and ever-growing and doesn't have any limits on it, we may just commit ourselves to way too many tasks, too many responsibilities, too many things, and just never get much accomplished. Burkeman points out that we humans are sort of blessed and cursed with our ability to have imagination. Of course, imagination allows us then to think about maybe a different partner that we might have, a better place that we could work, a better way to just do the job, right? So when you have imagination, your mind just fills up with all these other possibilities out there. And like I said, that could be a blessing, but it's also a curse, because that means that we're kind of constantly always thinking about all of these other things that we might do instead. So having that imagination means that we may end up just taking on too many tasks, too many responsibilities, because we always imagine that sometime in the future we'll have more time to do the task, we'll have the right state of mind, we'll have the right resources, the right partner, whatever it is. We kind of imagine that sometime in the future we'll be able to do all that, because we imagine that there's some version of us that will be able to take on all these extra responsibilities, on all these extra tasks, to be able to have the energy and the resources to do whatever it is that we don't actually have right now, but maybe sometime in the future we will. The problem then is that we don't really appreciate how limited we as humans really are. We're limited in our time, we're limited in our resources, we're maybe limited in the amount of emotional support that we can provide different people. Because of that, because we really are ultimately limited, we're only going to be able to get a few of these things done. We're only going to be able to take on a few of these responsibilities that we imagine that we can do later and that we can imagine that we'll accomplish, and so on. We end up not wanting to say no to all sorts of new, exciting opportunities out there because of FOMO. We fear that we're going to miss out on some new experience, meeting someone new and exciting, missing out on some work opportunity, whatever. So according to Burkeman, what we need to do is convert our FOMO to JOMO, the joy of missing out. When you make the deliberate choice to work on this task, to go to this event, or even to marry this person, we're basically saying to the world that of all of the options that you had at that moment, these were the ones that you thought were most important, the ones that you chose as your best choice, your best option. And then all the other things that you turned down, all the other options that are out there that maybe cause you to have FOMO, are really validations of the things that you did pick instead. That is, you can take joy in knowing that these are the choices that you made, and so that you won't feel bad about all the things that you didn't do. Because again, we are limited. We can only do so much. We should have more pleasure then in all of these options that we have picked, all of these responsibilities that we have chosen, and not feel bad about all the ones that we couldn't do.
When I read this passage in Burkeman's book, it reminded me of a point that Apple tried to make about their company back in 2013, in which they argued that for every time they have a yes decision, they've already made 10,000 no decisions.
JOMO is recognizing that your commitment to these tasks, to this person, to these responsibilities, signifies that these are the things that are most important to you. You have joy in picking these things for the limited amount of time and energy you have for all the possible things that are out there in the world. As Burkeman writes, in this state of mind, you can embrace the fact that you're foregoing certain pleasures or neglecting certain obligations because whatever you've decided to do instead, earn money to support your family, write your novel, bathe the toddler, pause on a hiking trail to watch a pale winter sun sink below the horizon at dusk. This is how you've chosen to spend a portion of time that you've never had any right to expect. The point of this video is, and what I found really enlightening about reading Burkeman's book, is try to make JOMO your goal. Try to find that the things that you have picked to do, the things that are your high priorities, the things that have made it to your to-do list, are the things that you have chosen to do out of all the other things that you had, given all that limited time and energy that you have for people, places, and responsibilities, and take the pleasure in knowing that these are the things that you thought were valuable, and that's why you picked them. Now, some of your choices might be bad choices. Maybe they're things that you really shouldn't be doing, and I'm not advocating that you stick with those. In fact, what you probably should do is go back through and evaluate all these different choices you made, maybe with a big to-do list that you have, and scratch out the things that you're just not going to get around to, or that are not as important as you might have thought they were when you initially picked them. And then, once you've got that list of things that you've now decided are important to you and the things that you've scratched off that you're never going to get around to, then you'll have more JOMO. In the way that Burkeman finishes up talking about this, he says, this is also why it can be so unexpectedly calming to take actions you've been fearing or delaying, to finally hand in your notice at work, become a parent, address a festering family issue or exchange on a house. When you can no longer turn back, anxiety falls away, because now there's only one direction to travel, forward into the consequences of your choice.